They're foreign students of the New York University of Florence, and they will talk as well about the intercultural dialogue and the development of character and tolerance. Their names are Eilish Anderson, Shi Fu, Hejazi, Feiran Liu, Nikola, Nenkov, and Ruoying.
Hello, my name is Eilish Anderson. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I'm a junior at New York University studying politics and Italian. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. The multi-layered intercultural exchange that takes place in the Mediterranean is seen mirrored in the cross-cultural experiences of individuals all over the world. Even here on this stage, the 6 of us are from all over the world, and we're here to share vastly different experiences. Still, regardless of our backgrounds, our stories, whether conceptual or emotional, are tied together exactly by this conference's notion of unity in diversity. Just as no man is an island, no culture can remain isolated in today's world, all of us in this room who come from different continents represent the complexity of this world. We come from different cultures, but we are working towards the same goal: fostering dialogue, nurturing tolerance, and building a future of peace.
The idea that traveling could be an education dates back to the Middle Ages. When the phrase the Grand Tour first emerged in the 16th century, it used to be the luxury of the upper-class European young men as a way of broadening their horizons. When they went on the Grand Tour to see various sites in the world to acquire knowledge for the purpose of improvement and sophistication, and also declaring their social status. Coincidentally and not so coincidentally, Italy is one of the final destinations. Now that mobility was made more accessible through different means of transportation, the Grand Tour is much more feasible, but its educational value remains. My first revelation from my global education is that studying abroad is a pilgrimage. I was born and raised in China. My Grand Tour started in New York, and now I'm here. I trip and fall, but I'm also captivated by the enchanting view of the journey. I remember when I first got to New York, I couldn't even recognize all the vegetables and salad dressings. I had to have everything bagels and everything omelets at breakfast for almost a month before I could finally have egg white omelets with chocolate chip pancakes on the side. I also remember having trouble distinguishing between zucchini and cucumbers when I first got there. I admit I was scared. I'm still a bit scared. Being in a different culture is hard, but it also feels good to know my vegetables. A global education is not only about the things you learn in class, but also the skills to accept differences and cope with unexpected problems. My second revelation is that the world is more complicated than I expected. When I first got to Italy, I was fascinated by its antiquity. The churches, museums, and monuments remind me of the great history this country endures. When I think Italy, I think of Renaissance, Dante, and sometimes pasta. But little do I know that Italy is also the birthplace of Renaissance. It's also the birthplace of futurism. Now I realize Italy's struggle between modernity and antiquity, and how different ideologies had influenced the country over the years. I see more of Italy, and I'm captivated by its diversity. A global education inspires me to see things from different perspectives. I think of New York and how it, as a melting pot of culture, is struggling under the current political and social climate. I think of Shanghai too, my hometown, and how it is also struggling to find a balancing point between the old and the new. I'm a pilgrim who seeks Italy, but I am also a global citizen. Most of the time, there are no right or wrong in things. They're just different. One thing could have more than one side. I learned to be more respectful and accepting. All cultures are different, but they're also fundamentally compatible. My name is Ruoying. You can call me Carol. I have 2 names which I both cherish. I was born and raised in Shanghai. I lived in New York for a year, and here I am now. I have 3 homes, all of which I deeply adore. Sometimes I'm a stranger, but sometimes I feel like this is a place to be. My pilgrimage has no final destination, but I look forward to my next stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here. It is a great pleasure. My name is Liu Fagan, and I'm a third-year student in NYU Florence, double majoring in global liberal studies and art history. I was born in Jiaozuo, a small city in northern China, and then moved to Hangzhou, a big major city in southeast China, when I was 14. I started college in NYU Florence 2 years ago, and it was my first time studying in a different country with people from different countries. The change of living environments from northern China to southern China and from China to abroad gave me the opportunity to change my perspectives on cultures and to compare cultures of different countries and regions. Now it is my third year studying abroad. The more time I spend living in another country and learning about other cultures, the more I actually learn about my own culture, especially about the parts that I have always taken for granted growing up in China. Let me tell you a little story. During freshman year, when I was in my dorm one day and my roommate started to have a severe cramp, she was in a lot of pain. And I told her that she should drink some warm water. If she needed some ginger and brown sugar, she could have some of mine. And she looked very confused and like she couldn't understand a word of what I just said. And I was confused too when I perceived her confusion, wondering if my English made any sense to her. And then she took a painkiller with ice cold water. I was absolutely in shock when I saw that. And in my mind, I was saying, what did she just do to herself? It took me a while to understand that I later found out when someone is having their period, drinking ice cold water and taking painkillers is a common thing among my American friends. For me, this was just mind-blowing. Growing up in China, it is a common sense that during period, we should drink warm water and keep warm, especially around our stomach area, to avoid cramps and stay healthy. And if we have cramps, brown sugar and ginger will help us to expel the coldness out of our bodies and to keep the balance of yin and yang. I explained this to my American friends, but they all look at me very skeptically, and I was in shock again. First, because what I know as common sense was new to them, and they had never heard of that. And second, what I take as common sense as true for my whole life was challenged by their skepticism. This small incident really brings me to a realization of how different Western and Eastern cultures are. The yin and yang concept has always been in Chinese culture and is so deeply rooted in my culture. And it is very natural to me, and I think that's how the world should be. But I didn't realize that to other parts of the world, this concept might not even exist. My roommates and my confusion and shock toward each other's actions were from our lack of understanding of our cultures and perspectives. I was judging her action based on my cultural norms, and I imposed my perspective on hers. Even an everyday incidents like having cramps can cause confusion and misunderstanding between people from different cultures. Then not to mention about bigger topics as politics or ideologies. It wasn't until that incident that I truly realized that understanding and accepting different cultures require us to consider culture statements or views in their own contexts instead of merely based on our own cultural norms. It is not easy, and there will be shocks, but it's very crucial for encouraging tolerance toward other cultures. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Nenkov, and I'm a first-year student here at NYU Florence. Originally, I'm from Sofia, Bulgaria, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of a handful of LGBT activists in my country. It's not an easy thing to be gay in Bulgaria. I could go on and on with stories about being followed home or yelled at in the streets. I've had friends kicked out of their homes by their parents. I've been threatened over phone calls. But that's not what my story should be about. It should be about the work we do back at home to make life easier and better for the LGBT community, closer to what I've seen here. I went to an international school back at home too, and comparing my life to the life of my gay friends who went to Bulgarian schools, I had it easy. My American teachers always kept an eye out for me. They always defended me whenever my Bulgarian classmates would try and be mean. Even though it was an international school, Bulgaria is not an easy place to come out as an LGBT teen. I remember one of my American teachers telling me when I was 13 or 14 that things would get better eventually. His advice gave me the strength to start advocating for LGBT rights in my school. I finally founded the first student-led community in my country. It took me a couple of years. I had to fight with both administration and teachers, yes, but it did happen. From there, I started working with full-time activists in the city, trying to pursue legislative change. I finally settled in to work with Single Step, a foundation that's currently trying to found the first community center of its kind in the region. I wondered where my strength came from. Eventually, I realized that it came from my international background. That happened the first time I had to deal with Bulgarian officials. It was the Sofia Pride Parade last year, and we had sent out an invitation to our mayor to attend. She did not respond. I was frustrated. I had expected for her to be a leader and to at least take a stand. I wouldn't have cared that much if she was negative or aggressive towards us like in other places. She did not care at all. She did not respond to our letters. She even let a Nazi protest happen in the same day, and we had to wait for hours until we could begin. Eventually, I realized that all of the funding that we had came from international organizations. All of the support that we had came from foreign consulates or embassies. I realized that last year we had a mayor of Amsterdam, a foreign city, come to our parade, but not our mayor. It would be amazing to see some of you as well, but I would never imagine seeing her. I've had people ask me why I want to leave Bulgaria, and at first I thought that I wanted to run away from the climate there, the homophobia and the people, the hatred. Now I know that I want to learn from different cultures, to meet people like you, to travel and to experience, and then to go back home and to apply it to helping people there. Thank you.
Buongiorno. My name is Shi Fu. I'm a second-year student currently studying liberal studies. I was born and raised in Chengdu, China, and then I moved to Chiang Mai, Thailand for the last 2 years of my high school. I spent my first year here in Florence, and as you can see, I decided to come back. It is such a great pleasure for me to stand here and give this short speech. In the past, I would become alert if someone was talking about mental health in public. I thought it was abnormal talking about psychological problems openly. But then there was a period of time in high school I was not feeling well. And my friends were worried about me and they asked, what happened? But it was an impossible thing for me at that time to say the simple sentence, I feel depressed. Then something shocked me in the next moment. You know, it's okay to feel depressed. You don't have to tell us now if you don't feel well. My friend said that out loud. There was a moment I was actually nervous for her because I worried that other people may overhear and judge her. Turns out, no one did. Mental health is not a topic that we'll discuss openly in my culture. And I realized at that moment that mental health is not an issue in Western culture. In China, some families may refuse to take their children to see a psychologist because they think it's a shame. Some children are hesitant to share the depressive or anxious feeling to their parents. After that launch, I learned that counselor is always the right person to reach out when you are depressed. Once I have recognized that it's my culture considers mental problem as a disgrace, but not mental problems itself is disgraceful, I had such a relief for myself, but also for others. In the past, I would sympathize for those who had psychological problems, but also I feel powerless and misfortune for their families. However, my realization in high school gave me a different character. Once I have subtracted the concept mental health from my cultural dimension, I was able to say it as it is. Since that, I'm more tolerant to myself, to my negative mood, allowing myself to feel bad, to have the time to cry. I'm more tolerant to my families and friends' bad emotions, knowing that everyone could have a tough time in life. I believe that an intercultural dialogue can start with a personal realization, studying in different countries, hearing different stories, seeing different perspectives, allow me to embrace cultural differences and become tolerant to myself and to others. Thank you very much.
I didn't think I identified with being Arab. I didn't think there was much to say about it. See, I grew up in Saudi Arabia, yes, but I went to an international school, and accordingly, my friends were international. I begged Alicia to fulfill my Indonesian cravings and danced to Gambian beats with Fatoumata as she attempted to teach me how to dance. Now here I am spending my freshman year of New York University in Florence. My Florence, however, is way more than Italian. It's more than penne arrabbiata, it's also Indian, Chinese, and Greek food. My Florence is everyday conversations that could on their own inscribe textbooks and lectures over lectures on history and culture. I'm learning more about Mexican politics from my friend Paula over dinner than from a whole semester of comparative government. When someone sneezes, it's almost an instinct within me to say, Yarhamukallah, may Allah bless you. One can imagine my surprise when my friend Nikola tells me that Bulgarians say krasavica. They jokingly say cucumber in order to try and stop someone from sneezing. Certain nights pass by and everyone on campus is awake. Through our midnight conversations outside in the cold, I was learning more about my Palestine, its beauty, and its crowded markets from the stories of someone else's Jerusalem. When I heard my friend was visiting Lebanon, I found myself thrilled and exhilarated. I wanted her to see beyond the city life of Beirut. I wanted her to go to the monumental ruins of Baalbek, to visit Tripoli or Trablus by the hills. I also wanted her to bring me back za'atar, a traditional Arab spice eaten with olive oil and bread to share with everyone. Whenever someone asks me how to say a word in Arabic, I find myself smiling with pride as I explain that Arabic is an ocean of languages. Every country has its own dialect and every dialect is different. A simple phrase like how are you is labas in Moroccan, kifik in Lebanon, and zayik in Egyptian. I'm uncovering not only a pride in my Arab roots, but also a realization that because I had the opportunity to be exposed to different cultures, I was set free of ethnocentric chains that restrict our every action. What I'm learning is that we, as people from different cultures, are diverse puzzle pieces. Only by uniting will we truly unravel the eminence of the whole picture. If each puzzle confines itself to only its uniqueness, if each puzzle refuses pieces that are different, then our cultures will have formed great barriers in between us and will have robbed us from the beauty and the power of the fully completed puzzle. I am Arab, yes, but I am also a piece of the puzzle, ready to learn more about Bulgarian, Italian, and Mexican culture, ready to unite to find out what the bigger picture truly beholds. My name is Hejazi. It means a rose and a lion in Arabic. Thank you for having me.
Our testimonies here today are proof of the virtue of global education. Supplying scholarships, backing youth initiatives, and providing study abroad opportunities are all concrete ways in which you, as mayors, can use your influence to develop the intercultural competence that is a foundation of tolerance. We hope we've inspired you as leaders to continue supporting youth like us in our quest towards a more connected and peaceful future. Thank you.